What's up, ladies and gentlemen of the internet? How are you guys doing? In this video, we're gonna take a look at the Nurvv Run Insoles. These are a new super high-tech insole that can actually measure how your foot strikes, as well as how fast your foot strikes, and it can even measure stuff like your stride length. And it'll do all of the other basic running metrics as well, like collect your distance, show you your pace while you're running, and of course get your total overall running time. So in this video, we're gonna go over all the details of this product, and I'll tell you what I like about the product and what I dislike about the product, as well as if I think you should buy these $300 insoles. And while my opinion is completely flawless, no doubt, we're going to do something a little bit different today. We're actually gonna ask for a second opinion from a pro triathlete and a physical therapist on how he would use a product like this. But first, let me just go over a quick disclaimer. Nurvv Run Insoles did send me this product for the purpose of this review. They are not gonna sponsor this video. No money is changing hands or anything like that. And they are not going to be able to review this footage or see any of this footage before you guys get to see it here on YouTube. And typically when a product is given to me, I try to pass it along to one of you guys in the form of some sort of giveaway or something like that. But in this particular case, I have to be careful about what is sanitary and what is not sanitary. If it's a watch or a goggle or a bike computer, I feel like that stuff is safe to pass on to you guys, but I am gonna exclude stuff like socks or running clothes, or in this case, shoe insoles. So let's take a quick look at what you get in the box when you make this purchase. And I actually think that the packaging is fantastic. When you first open it, you'll find the two insoles right on top. And underneath that, there is the clip-on pods. There's two of those. There's also this unique charging connector. It comes with a USB micro cord that connects to that charging connector. And speaking of charging, the claimed battery life is 6 hours on this particular product. I felt like that was pretty optimistic. Realistically, it might be more like 4 or 5 hours or so. I was doing short runs mostly, and I was really only charging them up after about 3 runs or so. When the pods snap into the charger or into the insoles, it is an extremely sturdy snap. And you do need to be a little bit careful when you're unsnapping the pod, either from the clips themselves or from the charging port. Don't use the USB cord, as some sort of leverage. What you'll do is you'll just end up breaking the charging adapter. And I recommend just unplugging the USB cord from that charging adapter before separating the pods. Okay, these are waterproof up to IPv7, so definitely don't hesitate to go out and run in the rain with these particular insoles. And the insoles themselves come in 5 different sizes. This particular insole is a large, and it weighs in at about 2.3 ounces with the pod attached, the way that you'd be wearing them on your shoes. And just for reference, I wear a shoe called the Nike Air Pegasus, and it weighs about 9.5 ounces. And I didn't really notice the weight of this insole in addition to my shoes when I was running in them, but I can imagine that if you have, very lightweight racing shoes, that it might be something that you would notice. And the app that lives on your phone communicates with the device over Bluetooth, and the pods also have GPS. So when you start up the application, you're gonna need to connect your phone to the Bluetooth, and you'll often have to wait a little bit just for the GPS to find satellites. And that only takes a few seconds. I really didn't have any issues with connectivity in the device itself. And the device actually uses an inertial navigation system to calculate the distance, because GPS is just not accurate enough to do things like measure stride length. I have a feeling that they're using GPS for some of those live metrics like your pace while you're running and items like that. And the insoles don't require you to have a phone. It can record data and you can sync it to your phone at a later time. So after a minimum of 4 runs and 10 kilometers of running, you're able to access the app's running health score. And your running health score, it's just some insight into some metrics like your training load, your cadence, your pronation, and your balance. And after one run, you'll access this pace coach, which is one of the items that you can choose. You can choose outdoor, you can choose indoor run, or you can use pace coach. And the pace coach will just allow the app to speak to you while you're running, and it'll suggest things like speeding up your running cadence and adjusting your stride length. Now, this product does cost $300, and I'll leave a link to where you can buy it, but it's currently being sold on the Nurvv Run website as well as the Apple website. And they do have a 30-day return policy, but if the product's been used, then there's a $100 restocking fee. And that's because they can't reuse these insoles just because of sanitary reasons. So if you use this product, just know that you would have to pay that restocking fee if it's a product that doesn't end up working for you. Now, I wouldn't really say that there's a direct competitor to this product. It's a pretty unique product, but if you're looking at this device, then you might be looking at some other products in this genre, kind of like the Stride running power meter, which costs $219. And there are other running metric devices like Garmin's running dynamic pod. That one costs $70, and that'll give you information like your cadence and your vertical oscillation. So I've been using this product for about a month and a half, and I've had a pretty good experience, but I wanted to give you guys a second opinion. And so what I did was I just let my friend borrow these for about a week, and then I went ahead and interviewed him. All right, guys, I am here with Evan Price. Evan Price is a very unique individual and very suited to speak on a product like this, the Nurvv Insole. And Evan is a pro triathlete, which means he is a perfect person to speak to our particular audience. But in addition to that, he's a physical therapist. And this particular product, I feel like it does fit very well with some of the things that you do in your particular practice. And so what I did was I let Evan take the product for a week. It was about a week ago, maybe a week and a half.
Week and a half, I think.
Something like that. And I figured I would just let you take it for a little spin, come back after you've gone for a couple runs with it, and just tell us what you think. And in particular, there's a couple things that I want to know. One, like, how was the setup process? Even though I kind of helped you through that setup process, there is a couple steps, right? You kind of slide it into your shoe, remember to fire it up. Did you find any of that stuff difficult?
Down. To be honest, the setup for the product is actually pretty intuitive and easy. It really is. Finding maybe the best way to get it into the shoe, and then also to clip the sensor on the outside of the shoe takes a little bit of fidgeting and can be a little bit different person to person. But overall, it was pretty easy. And then really, to me, the easiest part of it was actually the app setup.
Yeah, the app is good.
Very easy. I had even forgotten what you told me when I went for my second run and figured it out and I'm not very tech savvy. So it was very easy for me to figure that out still.
Yeah, I think the app is in a solid place, and I'm kind of excited to see where it's gonna go.
Yes.
You know, this is one of those products that you can tell is still very early on, you know, the sensor product, and then you have, it's communicating well with the phone and all that. But from there, they can keep going. Like, they can start adding metrics, they can start adding features to the phone. Like, you know, there's that bit about the insoles and the data that you're collecting. It's collecting mileage, but you're not able to upload that to Strava. That's just developer time, you know?
Exactly.
This is usually what people pay me to do, where it's like, we need these features and we don't have enough resources, like, get it, you know. So it's just a matter of taking the time to do that stuff. And so I'm excited to see this product improve. Any problems? Did you have any problems with like the feel of it or the fit of it? I know I had some issues with the side of it rubbing what's the tendon that goes from my ankle down the side of my foot? What's that?
The one that anybody that's watching this channel would know Matt has had some problems with is his peroneal and Achilles tendon.
It's the peroneal tendon that's like, I have this like massive peroneal tendon.
Yes, he does.
Like the size of normal man's.
This is why you were such a fast runner back in the day.
I don't think it has anything to do. It's just like, it's probably, been aggravated and then gets bigger and then gets aggravated and then bigger. And, but whatever it is. But I was able to notice the clip because there is a small piece of metal there. Most everyone that I've chatted with that has used this product doesn't notice this clip.
And I did not have any rubs from that personally.
Nothing there. What about the weight? Did you notice the weight of the product when you were running with it? Or?
There's two, and we'll kind of start actually with two, not criticisms of the product, but I really like the product, so we'll get to those in a bit. But the problem for me is I wear a size 12 shoe,
right?
So the sizing of these is difficult because I think that the insoles are meant to be across a couple different sizes of shoes, and I was on the bigger size.
Which I will say that is
the large. Yes,
this is the large. Yeah, and this is size. It's supposed to be 9 to 10 and a half, and so you should have been in the XL.
Exactly.
So that's a me issue. That's my fault.
Yeah,
it's not the product itself. But
I think even otherwise, I think the insole may shift around just a bit on if you're maybe in the bigger size shoe in your range.
Right.
So that was my main problem was the insole shifting around and me feeling that.
Yeah.
To be honest, you do kind of feel the weight of this a little bit.
Do you?
As you're coming through.
And you use pretty lightweight shoes. You wear those Nike.
I think that's
Vaporfly?
why. Yeah. I run in the Zoom flies, I believe.
So if you're in like a heavier shoe, I don't think you would notice too much.
Yeah. You may not notice if you're running the Pegasus Trail or something.
Yeah, I'm wearing the Pegasus a lot, and I don't notice the weight too much.
Yeah.
So,
and it wasn't a big deal because once you get going, the only time I notice is when you take it out, you realize like, oh wow, it feels a little bit lighter.
And I imagine if people are racing with it, then if they're really sensitive to weight, then they would definitely notice. And I think maybe people would use this more as a training tool.
Yeah,
I don't know.
This is where for me, I'll get into the positives from this. Is I'll speak from a physical therapy point of view. I do a lot of running gait analysis in my practice and work with a lot of triathletes and runners. So for me, if I have a tool that I can put into somebody's shoe for a 20-minute run when they're in the clinic, and we can see kind of how they're progressing. Now, it's for me on the treadmill is where I was utilizing it the most. But that's a very consistent environment, and I think a good for measuring, having metrics to look at, whether that's consistent foot strike pattern, whether I want to look at their cadence. The best example I can use for it clinically is if somebody's starting to tell me I feel like I'm starting to break down, if I can visually see their forms breaking down, we can then look back at that data and look at when they broke down, what was happening. Now, this is where I think you get into, is there too much for your typical person? Is there going to be a data overload? Possibly. But from a clinical standpoint, you could, if you're seeing a physical therapist, you could use this data, bring it into your physical therapist. Yeah. And it gives you a little bit better story to tell them so that they can kind of nail down a little bit what is going on with you.
Yeah, I love the idea of, potentially like working on some balance issues or things like that and comparing those. Like, and for me personally, I could see this being extremely helpful where right now things aren't great with my Achilles and things like that, but it's like, you and I do two months of work on, balancing and just ankle strength exercises, and we can look at the numerical values and see if there's some difference there.
Yep.
And
we can even look at what point in a run you're breaking down. Maybe one week you go for a 4-mile run and the numbers look even, and then you get asymmetrical past that 4 number. We can look at that and be like, oh, we need to stay in that range right now. Yeah.
Do you think that there's any weaknesses to the whole general notion of, pronation or supination, which is the rolling of some individual's foot, and that being related to injuries? I know a lot of times basically in my history, we would talk to someone, we'd say like, you are a pronator, you need this shoe and this will save you from injury. There's not a lot of science there to that, right? Where it's
I think there was an era when pronation got a bad name.
Right. Yeah.
Pronation, for anybody who really just wants to understand pronation, it's a very natural movement of the foot. So you think of the foot in 3 different segments. You have your rear foot, your midfoot, and your forefoot. And all of them move, pivoting independently of each other. So pronation is just describing that pivot as that arch collapses down to the ground. It's everything that's involved in that. So depending on how Matt's foot is structured compared to mine, a different amount of pronation is going to be appropriate for that foot. Now, this is where, how do you build up the resiliency to that pronation? That's when things like strengthening, balance, like you mentioned before, are very important. So if you are somebody who's developing major Achilles issues or major plantar fasciitis issues,
right.
if we look at this is where we can see where is maybe that breakdown happening. What can we try to adjust to do that? Or what do we just need to work on strengthening wise? Or do we need to back off miles so we can work on those things?
Yeah.
Because I agree with you. I think we, at some point in the running physical therapy community, got into the mindset that we can control pronation instead of living with pronation and understand that's a natural movement of the foot.
So one of the other metrics that's pretty common in here is like foot strike position, whether you're kind of a heel striker or toe striker or midfoot striker and things like that. You know, how do you feel about that? Do you feel it was accurate? Do you feel like it's worthwhile information? Yeah,
I think it really is. I've done a lot of run gait analysis, so usually I'll trust my own eye on seeing that. But I liked how it broke down the location of the foot that you were striking, the heavier strike areas. It's basically like a sensor map for where you're putting pressure, which is really valuable information when you're talking about strike pattern.
Yeah.
Because also it's not just the strike pattern we have to look at, it's how much pressure is being put through certain areas.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, I think that we can all agree there's very fast heel strikers out there, very fast midfoot strikers, and very fast forefoot strikers. So just understanding, I think, what who that runner is important, and that's what this can give us. Yeah.
So, my gut feeling is fantastic tool. You know, it makes sense for, at this price point. This is priced at $300. It makes sense for a clinic like yours to potentially have, I don't know, all the size ranges of those particular items. So it could be a tool to diagnose things. If you're the patient and you want to, invest that money, it could be good just reporting back to your physical therapist, as well as kind of just learning more about your own foot strike. What about the stride length and things like that? Any of those metrics, things that you care about, or?
Yeah, I like looking at a combination of cadence, which is steps per minute that you take, along with stride length, because when you're talking about stride length, that's very, very dependent on the anatomy of the runner. But, if you are somebody who we're trying to build speed, fitness over a time period, that stride length number is going to be very important to me, because if you continue to increase stride length over a year, 2 years at the same cadence, you're faster.
Right.
And that's where, stride length means less to me if then that cadence number is dropping, because that means you're maybe overstriding, you're running into other issues. But it is the balance of having active cadence numbers on here, along with a look at your run with the average stride length over that run is important data.
Absolutely.
Along with looking at the strike pattern then at that point is where are you hitting in the foot when you are striding this certain length.
So one of the features you kind of have to unlock it. The way it works is it needs 10K of data collection before you can use what they call their pace coach. I think that's the name of what they have there. And so you can choose when you're selecting an indoor run, an outdoor run, or you can do a pace coach workout. And that's just the current setups. This may change as they develop the application. Did you get a chance to use that?
Once I used it.
So
I would suggest it using on a treadmill for anybody who wants to use it.
I used it as well.
Were you on the trails?
No, I didn't use it on the trails. In fact, I only used this product once on the trails, and I do have footage of that, which I'll show. But I don't think it's a great tool for trail running. In fact, I really feel like you want to be on the track or potentially on the treadmill, especially if you're using that pace coach functionality, because for me, if you're going downhill or if you're going uphill, your stride length is going to change, potentially your cadence is going to change, and your foot strike could change due to the terrain. And I just don't think that that's like a real valuable metric if you're saying like the terrain changed this, not the muscle memory patterns that I'm trying to develop. And so I think if you want to use those pace coaches, track or treadmill is my gut feeling. But I only used it once, and I did, my neighborhood is super hilly. So it was downhill and then uphill kind of on the way home. And I found it annoying. I found it like constantly saying you need to, change your stride length. It was just a constant barragement of, is that a real word?
I think so. I think it is.
I was being bombarded with like
barragery,
with the message of you need to change your stride length, you need to change your cadence, and I would be on for a little bit, and then I would be over or under, and so it just didn't feel natural to have that much feedback. It ruined my entire podcast that I was listening to.
Yeah.
which was the Dial podcast.
Were you listening to Dial? Okay, good.
Yeah.
So I would say I completely agree with you that, and this has always been my thought, is running gait or running form is a subcortical activity, which means that it is not something you're consciously thinking of. So you're not thinking, pick up my leg and put it back down. So I don't like the idea of, it's the same thing with a track coach, let's say every lap, every 200 yelling at you, stride out, stride out, stride out. There's other reasons that you may not be striding out at that time. And sometimes consciously trying to change that can actually cause more asymmetries in the gait than you would want to cause. Yeah. So I do agree with you. Sometimes too much information is too much. And I think I'd like them to back off the coach a little bit. Okay. Because the data is very valuable. Sure. It is. But the coaching aspect I didn't like either, just because it's too it was too much.
Were you okay with having your phone with you for all the runs and things like that?
I just put it up on the treadmill when I was using it. I usually do not run with my phone, so it wouldn't be something I would typically use outside. But I know plenty of my patients who will just go run with their phone. So for somebody like that,
no big deal.
Yeah, definitely, it'd be easy for them to do that. But if I was one of my own patients, I would only be using it on the treadmill.
Yeah. I just threw my phone in a fanny pack. It's styling.
I don't run with fanny packs. It throws off my my sense of where I am.
Okay, so thank you, Evan Price, for agreeing to check out the product and definitely giving us your feedback. I really appreciate it. I'm going to give my final conclusions just kind of back in my home studio, but I really do appreciate your time.
Absolutely. Thank you, Matt LeGrand.
Yeah, you'll be on the channel again, I surely hope.
Oh, let's hope so.
All right, talk to you soon. So I'll just wrap up by saying that I know this product isn't for everyone. I see it geared towards people who really want to take that deep dive into their own running form metrics. And I don't think that it's something that I would use on an every run sort of basis, but it might be something that I'd use to test with from time to time. And I think it makes a lot of sense for a PT clinic or a place like that, potentially trainers or people who deal with runners on a regular basis, and they want more concrete numbers to see how effective their treatment is progressing. Okay, if you are into this sort of thing, and that would be swimming, biking, or running, definitely consider subscribing. There's a little subscribe button down here below somewhere. There's also a little notification bell that just allows you to be notified of whenever I post new videos, which is typically about once per week. And you'll want to switch that notification bell to all. All right, guys, thank you so much for taking the time to watch this video, and we will see you guys in the next one.